Recording in progress.
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners agenda setting work session for Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. It is 9:03 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. To my left, Vice Chair Commissioner Fournier, Commissioner Mejia, Commissioner Grant, and Commissioner Klaus. All present, we have Leonard Hernandez, County Manager, and Clerk of the Board, Amy Davis. The meeting is being live streamed to the Thurston County YouTube channel, and written public comment may be received up to 2 hours in advance of the meeting and distributed to the board. Action may be taken at this meeting. So first up, we have an agenda review for the January 20th business meeting. First review of that proposed agenda, which would be called to order at 2 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance be led by Commissioner Fournier. Land acknowledgement and approval of agenda considered, and then presentation plan for National Human Trafficking Prevention Month.
Good morning, Commissioners. On January 20th, we will be joined by some representatives regarding the National Human Trafficking and Prevention Month. The Crime Victims Advocacy Services will be here along with the Prosecuting Attorney's Office representatives. We will also have the Washington State Task Force here, and a few other groups who are involved in the community who do some local campaigns to put out some knowledge. As a part of the proclamation, we'll be putting some signage on doors, entry and restroom doors around the building, and we'll have some pamphlets available for folks who are interested in learning more or who need resources.
Okay, is this one where we'll take a break?
Yes. Take a recess and a photo.
Okay, any questions on that one? Okay, we'll have our first public comment period after that. County Manager update.
We have a few items to update, Chair. We'll update on the work project, the emergency responders vehicles, and there's some progress that our fleet is making on getting out the medic units and our sheriff's units. If you recall, back in the end of 2024, the board allowed fleet to go out and to procure additional units because there was a backlog. So they've made a lot of great progress. So we're going to show that off. The Treasurer's Office has won an award. We'll have that award, and staff will be here to be for it to be presented. And then we'll show a few of the 2025 county highlights that staff have worked so hard on.
All right. Any questions for County Manager? Okay, consent items. 1, interlocal agreement with Washington State Department of Commerce, security camera software.
Yeah, this is an item that I believe our auditor staff are going to join us.
Check in.
Okay, we'll check in, so maybe we can go. On this item, just to inform the board, based on the sensitive nature of this item, we'll have to go into executive session if there are questions. And so there are 2 potential categories of executive sessions that are listed on the agenda here that we may have to go into one executive session to have those questions answered and then go into another one to have other questions answered, depending on the nature of the questions.
And that's relating to this item.
Yes.
So basically we're going to defer this until that part of the agenda.
Well, no, we'll defer it until the auditor staff are available to.
And then we'll go into executive session.
Yes.
Okay. Well, pending that, let's go on to item 2, setting a public hearing to update precinct boundaries.
Chair, they won't be free until 9:30.
Okay. We'll flag it at that point. Yeah. Another auditor's office item is setting precinct boundary public hearing. Is there anything we need to be?
This is a presentation, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a presentation on the agenda itself. It's listed here as number 6. So those 2 go hand in hand. We can probably wait for the auditor's team to get there.
Okay. Central Services, item 3, resolution called for sealed bids for Thurston County Mottman security fence.
Good morning, Kim Burnett, Director of Central Services, and I have Rick Thomas, the Capital Projects Planning Manager. We're requesting approval for a resolution calling for sealed bids for a security fence at the Mottman Complex, and request to authorize the Director of Central Services to set the bid date and time for receipt and opening of said bids. The project is to add approximately 1,000 linear feet of security fencing around the perimeter of the Mottman site and will include 2 automatic security gates, one at the main entrance and one on Ferguson Street. This is a sub-project of the Mottman ballot processing renovation projects number C34102 and was included in the 2025-2030 capital improvement plan. This project is in alignment with the county's strategic plan, Initiative 16, to provide safe, secure, accessible, and functionable facilities to effectively house county services and associated workforce. We respectfully request approval of this item, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is this gonna go around the whole, all the buildings?
They'll utilize a fence that's already behind one of the buildings, and then they'll just connect to that. But yes, it will go around the entire complex.
Are these like recommendations of Homeland Security?
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4, setting a public hearing on residential energy performance rating and disclosure ordinance. CPED.
Good morning, Commissioners. Per direction from this board on December 10th, we have moved forward with an outreach plan for the, as we call the home energy score model ordinance, and are looking to set a public hearing for February 17th so the board can hear from the public before moving forward with final action on this item, hopefully in the March timeframe.
Questions on this item? Commissioner Mejia?
Clarification, you said moving forward with, could we not take action on February 17th?
You can depending on, there's still some internal items that we are researching in parallel to doing outreach. And so as long as we have those implementation pieces finalized, then yes, you can take action.
Commissioner Klaus?
Which pieces are still being researched? Do you know?
Compliance. So we are working with the partner jurisdictions and trying to figure out what compliance looks like.
Okay.
And exemptions, like how do we verify whether someone is exempt from the provisions of the model ordinance. So those are 2 items that Rebecca is actively working on. We want to make sure we're in alignment with the other jurisdictions, as well as being responsive to things we hear from the board and the community.
Okay. Could we move this one to department items? This is one that I have a lot of interest in that people reach out to me about all the time. So I think it would be good to just have it a little bit more highlighted for people's awareness that we have a public hearing coming up.
Okay. Got that, Madam Clerk. Next up, thank you. Is item 5, resolution for 2 full-time equivalent court security positions, Superior Court.
HR Director. When it comes up, I just want to give a huge thank you to our HR department, our IT department, our Central Services Department, our District Court, Superior Court, and our Sheriff for all working together. The direction the board and action the board took in 2025 to take on Olympia Court Services. We all knew that it was going to be about 2 years worth of work in about a 6-month time frame. And staff are working extremely hard to advance that and to do it in a time where there's a lot of uncertainty about our facilities. We've just purchased a new campus, and so there's a process of us being in between where we are today, where we're going to be, and this court services falls in that. So you will see more conversation taking place about this board, but we are working to cross all the T's and dot all the I's, and this is an important step. So I'll hand over to Maria now.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Maria Ponte. As part of our agreement to take on the municipal court cases from the city of Olympia, it requires us to open up a 5th screening station. We don't have current adequate staffing. So this request is for 2 court security officers The city of Olympia is fully funding this, and then it will go into the rates that we establish later on this year. There is no impact to the general fund, and so the request is just to create 2 court security FTEs. Questions?
Special thanks to the City of Olympia, who out of cycle has agreed to support these positions. And ultimately, District Court will be doing a rate study to determine full cost for its municipal services to all our jurisdictions. And we believe when that rate study is done, it'll actually allow District Court to draw in more of the costs that it's been subsidizing currently, and this could mean an increase in several areas that are needed for additional staff support, but paid for by the jurisdictions.
Can you, so on the, you said we're required to add a station, is that what you said?
Correct.
Where is that?
It'll be in Building 1. So currently District Court has their hearings in Building 3. They don't have capacity to absorb these extra hearings. So
Oh,
we're working with Central Services to establish
I got
a
you.
temporary courtroom.
And
District Building 1,
yeah, and Central
so
Services
there's
has
another security.
outfitted the former board, I think it was a former board room.
It was the former room 280, so most of you are very familiar with that room.
Your old stomping grounds. And they have done a great job of getting that ready for a temporary courtroom.
Okay, makes sense.
Thank you.
All right, item 6 is an equipment purchases with cooperative purchasing contracts, IT.
Good morning, Sherry Ilg, IT Director. Every year, our department identifies the equipment that's gonna be replaced as part of our maintenance. This year, we have 4 firewalls, 2 ESXi servers, which is our virtual server environment, 6 access layer switches, and 190 endpoints, so that's computers and laptops. We collect the money for however many years, and then we replace it. And normally I come visit you 3 or 4 times a year to say, hey, can we purchase this now? And then I get approval, and then we do that part of the project. But this year, I'm trying to do it differently. There is a shortage of memory chips that is creating a very volatile environment for purchasing hardware. So we only get 14-day quotes now. We used to get 30-day quotes, but we only have 14 days now. And between a quote we got on a Friday and the following Monday, the price had increased by 15%, which was $40,000. So in order to save the county some money and save me trips to come visit you, I'm putting in a request to purchase all of the equipment we plan on replacing this year, right now, and it's all still within my budget authority, and it's money we plan to spend.
Any questions?
Thank you, Sherry, for being innovative and efficient in ways to save the county money.
It was a surprise.
Next item, next couple items are also IT. Next one is item 7, renewal of Microsoft support agreement for technical assistance.
I am seeking authorization to waive competitive bidding and renew our Microsoft support agreement in the amount of $83,146.12. We use Microsoft as a basis for our computing environment, and the support agreement we get through Microsoft helps us come up if there's anything that we can't troubleshoot on our own. And we get training from them, and they do assessments with us every year, so this is an annual renewal.
Questions on item 7? All right, let's go to item 8, Varonis Data Security and Analytics Platform.
So I'm seeking authorization to renew our Varonis software maintenance agreement in the amount of $162,473.87. This is our county's data security solution. It monitors our environment for potential data leakage or breaches.
Is this a increase in price, or I imagine?
No, I mean, it increased a little bit. We added on a second piece of functionality that was approved last year through this process. So it is a little bit higher, but it's not remarkably higher.
Any questions on item 8? All right, thank you. Public Health is next. Department of Ecology Grant Agreement, Summit Lake Pollution Identification and Correction Project.
Good morning.
Morning.
Jen Freiheit, Director of Public Health and Social Services. And yes, this is a request for the board to move to approve a grant agreement with the Washington State Department of Ecology in the amount of $112,497 to fund the Summit Lake Pollution Identification and Correction Project. And Environmental Health will use these funds to mitigate the potential impacts of on-site sewage systems in the lake's watershed by improving the maintenance compliance rate to 90%.
Similar to what we had for Black Lake.
I believe so, yes, I'm seeing that.
And yeah, this was presented at the town hall for the public last month where we had a Board of Health and I was over there and it was well received by the community. So yeah, it's good, exciting. Any questions on item 9? All right, thank you. Public Health is next with item 10, amendment to Homes First Affordable Housing Development Contract.
Yes, thank you. This is a request for the board to move to approve an amendment to the O'Farrell ADU development contract with Homes First to add $89,891 in funding, bringing the total contract value to $210,491. In 2023, Homes First was awarded $120,600 in local home funding for the development of accessory dwelling units or ADUs at a property they own at 721 O'Farrell Avenue Southeast in Olympia. And these funds are currently under contract through the Office of Housing and Homeless Prevention. And this project includes the development of 4 ADUs, which will be used for affordable rental housing for seniors. And I have Alex Purse, the program manager, here to help answer any questions.
Questions for Public Health team? No? All right.
All right, great, thank you.
All right. Item 11, Sheriff's Office Memorandum of Understanding with Washington State Patrol Data Sharing and Storage. And I see somebody from TCSO. Sheriff's Office. We see you on the screen. I see you. Not sure who it is.
Sorry about that, we were on mute.
Very good. This
Which item do you guys have up first?
MOU with Washington State Patrol Data Sharing and Storage.
Yep, so this is just updating an old MOU. Obviously, license plate readers have been around for a long time, and this just clarifies best practices and how we maintain our relationship with the state patrol. It sets up contracts about, not using the data for like abortion out of state, prosecution and different things like that. So even though Thurston County Sheriff's Office doesn't have any license plate readers, we still reach out to other agencies for assistance when we have cases and ask them for license plate reader data. So as part of that, we want to make sure that we have a good contract with the state and are complying with all of their rules.
Questions? Commissioner Klaus?
I have a question. And I do owe an email out to the sheriff's office. I talked to the sheriff yesterday and was requesting a copy of the contract from 2009. But I think I just have to reach out to their finance person, Heidi, to get that. But I just wanted to note that on the record that I saw it was referenced in the agreement, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So I just need to reach out to get that.
I have a question. When you say license plate readers, can you explain a little bit more what that means? Like how does that work, or what does the state patrol have, or in terms of technologically, what is that?
So State Patrol is basically the owner of Access, which is the most popular, it is the core law enforcement database in the state of Washington. So if you get pulled over, it's how officers, deputies, and troopers check to see if you have a good driver's license. They can see where you live, where your registered owner address is. It's also the area where we get returns for things like stolen hits, warrant hits, all those types of things. So access is our ability to get into that database. The license plate readers are used by user agencies across the state. I don't know if State Patrol has any, but I know a lot of other agencies do. And those are the systems that use access to figure out if something, like if a car drives through an ALPR camera, if the owner has a felony warrant out for their arrest or if the car is stolen. So the easiest way to think about this is that you've got all your user agencies in the state that have license plate readers, and then you've got the state that manages the database that actually houses the information to tell you whether or not the plate that you're looking for is something that's wanted.
Okay, but I guess I was asking, like, is the license plate reader, when you say that, is that like a stationary camera, or is it on the cars that are
Yes.
driving? Both?
It could be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, it can be mobile, it can be stationary. I think even the ones in parking lots that, you know, Home Depot uses, those are all ALPR. So those are, it doesn't matter if it's mobile or stationary, and I don't believe that this MOU clarifies the difference. It's just any technology that's gonna read a license plate and then send it off to the access system for checking falls under this MOU.
Okay, other questions, Mr. Klaus?
I have a question, so, it doesn't specifically, mention like AI-based ALPR systems in the MOU. Listening to the conversation, I'm kind of wondering if that would fall under this agreement, even though it's not explicitly stated. I know like the standard ALPR systems don't have AI capabilities, but there are newer ones that do, like the Flock system, and others. So even though AI surveillance isn't listed in the MOU, is that a possibility that some of the data being shared pursuant to this agreement could potentially have AI capabilities?
Absolutely, yeah, it's any ALPR system, so whether it's an older system that just runs plates, or it's a newer system that can also pick up vehicle characteristics and bumper stickers and spoilers and things like that, or wheel color. It's all, if it runs a license plate, it falls under this MOU.
Okay, and then you mentioned like the cameras in Home Depot and stuff. I always assumed that those were like privately owned by those companies that have the cameras in their parking lot or on their property. Are some of those managed by Washington State Patrol?
Not that I know of, those are privately owned.
Okay. I heard you or someone mentioned the cameras at Home Depot as an example, and I was not sure where they fall in terms of this conversation about this agreement.
Well, I was just mentioning that those are an example of ALPR. So those are running plates inside of parking lots, and while we are not managing that system, it is still an example of ALPR. Now, I don't know where that data is going, because that's not my world. But to some extent, those private businesses are harvesting that data. And you're starting to see not just that, but also facial recognition. You're starting to see facial recognition pop up at private businesses, so that when people who have been burglarizing businesses and shoplifting from them walk in, they automatically get flagged and detained and arrested for, you know, trespass or whatever. So what those private businesses do is on them. I was just giving that an example, that there are stationary, there's Flock that's stationary, there's those flashing blue ones at like the Home Depot parking lot that's stationary. Those are all examples of ALPR.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. This is an item I would also like to move to department.
Okay. Let's go to the next. Oh, go ahead.
You guys can put that on department. I won't be able to present on this afternoon, so.
It's next week, Sheriff.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, the 20th.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, this afternoon I'm booked out, so.
Next Sheriff's item is also Sheriff's Office, Memorandum of Understanding with Washington Traffic Safety Commission, drug recognition experts.
Yes, this is just a basic contract with the Traffic Safety Commission. We now have a drug recognition expert on staff. They've completed all their training and they're out in the fields providing that work. And this just is an MOU for an overtime basis in response to allied agency requests. So if a child is struck in an intersection in Olympia and our DRE responds out there because they're showing signs of impairment, but it's not alcohol, that we can bill through all that overtime through the Traffic Safety Commission.
Questions on that? Sheriff, just as an aside, when I was a lawyer, DRE case, there were, maybe protocols have changed, but what my recollection was there was like a 12-step process they were supposed to go through, and I don't think any case I ever defended did the DRE actually go through the 12-step that they were supposed to go through. So they were kind of easy cases to defend. So hopefully you've got your guy trained to follow.
What step is he on?
To follow all the way through. No, when they do an examination, in order to make it admissible, there's like they have to go through each piece, and it's pretty involved. But yeah, it was just something that as a lawyer, I noticed there was kind of a lot of sloppiness back at that time. It was 10 years ago, but.
In this state or in Alaska?
No, here. Anyway.
Yeah, I would also say too that the drug recognition expert, that is not probable cause in and of itself. So they're part of a larger investigation, and really the goal is to get enough probable cause in those scenarios to get a search warrant for blood, because that's ultimately the only scientific way that you're going to get to that level of a conviction anyways.
Yeah.
So I think there's some misconception out in the public that like, oh, a DRE said that you're high, so you're guilty now. And really, it's just a nexus to the next step. Whereas, the average patrol deputy might have a harder time without that additional training articulating, the side effects of methamphetamine or fentanyl, or heroin, or some of those, prescription drugs, those types of things. So it's part of a larger investigation, and it's not meant to be its own standalone, example of conviction, enough to get a conviction from a jury. So, but you're right, yeah, making sure that they go through the entire process is important.
Awesome, thank you, Sheriff. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Then the next two items are voucher lists from December 8th and December 15th. Any questions from the board? Okay, we'll have our second public comment period, community reports from commissioners. Then we have a public hearing set for 3:30 on public interest and financial feasibility to establish Lake Lawrence Lake Management District number 26. I think we've already addressed this in terms of setting the public hearing. This will be the public hearing. Any other questions on that? Okay, so we have two items then for department.
Yes, consent item 4.
If I remember correctly, and we're right at 9:30, so auditor's team is coming in, and we will move back to address the two auditors' items. Which is number 1 and number 2. So I'll just give them a moment.
Ask them to come on in and we'll be ready.
This is where we're gonna activate the
Yeah.
executive sessions, okay?
Team is here and Mary will be making her way down in just a moment.
Paul is here now.
Okay, auditor team, we're ready for you.
Which the executive session,
Yes.
so then.
Presenting? And I have a copy for you guys. Oh, thank you.
She's gotta give testimony. Yeah, anybody want? You can come on up to the side here if you need to. I've seen him walking around, but he hasn't been here, so.
Encroach.
Show it straight into the executive session, county manager? We need to start.
I think we
I
need,
don't know how this is being structured.
Yeah.
I would recommend that we start, the item is the item, and then, I think we need to understand, there's 2 executive sessions that Karen has provided. We need to understand the nature of the questions without us getting into any of that detail to determine, Chair, which executive session you need to call.
Does that make sense
I can
to you?
provide that background if that's
Sure.
helpful. Just, do you wanna introduce the item first? And then-
We're talking about the contract with Commerce.
Yep.
Yes.
Item number 1.
So my understanding is there are some questions about, the contract with Commerce that we. Who owns the data? Is my understanding of the question.
I don't know what the questions are, Chair.
Yeah, it was last month, and then Commissioner Klaus had questions, and then we immediately flagged that the answers might need to be handled in executive session, so we
Yeah,
just
if we're
kind of.
talking about the technology
So I don't-
itself and what it does,
Yeah.
that needs to be executive session. So the contract can be outside, but if we get into discussing what it does just for security purposes, that information is protected by state law. So,
So should we just start asking questions about it, and then you'll tell us that,
Well, so maybe I could frame just that, the item I think that would be coming before the board is a proposed interlocal agreement with Department of Commerce that would provide grant funding to allow the auditor's office to purchase software for the cameras. General discussion, of that item, decisions about it, those types of things ultimately vote at a business meeting, whether to approve it or not, that would all be for an open public meeting. If the board has questions that relate to really security issues, infrastructure, specific capabilities, anything like that that would potentially pose a security risk, if that was answered at a public meeting and addressed, those would be appropriate for an executive session under 1A2. Alternatively, or perhaps in addition, if the board had questions about like legal risk of the contract, about action, those kinds of things, those could be handled in an executive session as well. That would fit under 1I, right, for discussions with legal counsel about proposed actions. So it sort of depends what types of questions the board may or may not have, but just kind of wanted to have that framed, and since both require legal counsel to be available, making sure that I was present.
Thank you, Karen.
so, with that kind of overview, Commissioner Klaus, I guess I'll turn to you. I think you were the one that had some questions.
Yeah, it sounded like when this first came up, there were multiple people maybe that had questions because it was framed in a way that was like, oh, we might have to go into an executive session about this. So that was one of the things that made me wonder, like, what's going on with it, because it was already suggested that we might have to go into an executive session. I know that, well, I think that this contract was looked at closely and there may have been a component related to facial recognition initially that was taken out. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay, but it still talks about the cameras being equipped with artificial intelligence capabilities. And that's an ongoing conversation. We were just talking about it a little bit ago. And we even have on the agenda today an ordinance related to artificial intelligence-based surveillance equipment and tools. And so that was one thing that kind of raised a flag for me, was like, hold on, what's going on with this? Just because we know that in other contexts, AI surveillance is, you know, causing harm. It's not always correct. It's still a relatively new tool that's being used for surveillance and security purposes. So there's just a lot that's still being developed. So I just was like, that was part of what my questions were. It was like, what is going on with this? It's something that we're having these ongoing conversations about. So I figured it was important to kind of understand how it's being used in this context.
So the purpose of this software is really bomb detection. One of the things that we were asked to do by Department of Homeland Security in the 2024 general election was to actually do a perimeter sweep of the buildings, both election buildings, prior to staff entering the buildings each morning. We, reached out to the sheriff to see if they would do that for us, but they did not have the capacity. So Tilly and her team, Tilly was always there, but she switched up with her team. They purchased big, powerful flashlights and literally did a walk around the perimeter of each building. What this software does is, because we looked at, well, let's just review the footage because we have camera footage, right? But that would take hours. So what the AI portion of this software does is it flags parts where it saw something outside of the norm. I mean, it could be a cat walking by the building, right? But it would cause us to look at that particular footage. So it would narrow it in on what we might look at. And we won't have to be walking around the buildings in the dark, in the winter, in the rain. And bomb threats are the biggest threat right now in the election sector. So
like a filter for like the camera footage, so then you can just go back and see what was that, rather than having to sit and evaluate.
Watch all of it, correct. That's what it does. So the cameras are pointed at the buildings, not at, the parking lot or anything like that. They're angled, how are they angled, Carrie?
They cover everything from the side of building and the ground, so if something is placed there, it will catch that. Once we have the fence in, they can detect people climbing over the fence. And then we do have cameras on the parking lot, in case.
Should we?
I just want to be clear, we are still in open session, so in case we're getting to a level
So why don't we get into
This is
executive
a-
session?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were in
No,
executive
we have
session.
not announced the executive session, so which one do you advise that we step into, Karen?
So if there's more questions about kind of exactly what the cameras are gonna do, to go into the one under 1AI for security infrastructure issues.
How long do you think would you recommend?
I have no idea.
15 minutes?
Sure, that's what's on the agenda, yeah.
Okay, 15
Yeah.
minutes.
Is this filmed?
It has been, yes, we've been filmed up to this point.
Can we, oh, great, okay. Can we delete that?
We are still in open session right
We're in
now
open session.
until the executive session is called, and we will shut down live stream and adjust the AV. So when you're ready, Chair, we can enter executive session.
I think it's.
So we will move into executive session pursuant to RCW 4230-110-1A2 to consider if in compliance with any required data security breach disclosure under RCW 19-255-010 and 42.56.590, and with legal counsel available, information regarding infrastructure and security of computer and telecommunications networks, security and service recovery plans, security risk assessments and security test results, to the extent that they identify specific system vulnerabilities, and other information that, if made public, may increase the risk to the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of agency security, or to information technology infrastructure or assets. 15 minutes is going to be estimated, so it's 9:42. We'll be in executive session till 9:57. And now we need to.
Recording stop. Recording in progress.
Okay, it's 9:59. We're out of executive session. The first piece, we're gonna be taking this same matter into a executive session under a different legal subsection, which is RCW 4231-10-1I, to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to agency enforcement actions, or to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party, when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. We are going to take 10 minutes. Board action may follow, so it's 9:59, actually about to turn 10. We'll be in executive session to 10:10.
Recording in progress.
All right, 10:28, we have completed the executive session. That's item 5 on the agenda. There's no board of legislative action to be taken, and so we're going to move forward in our agenda, which is going to connect to a couple of things. It's item 2 under the consent agenda for next week's board meeting, which is setting a public hearing to update precinct boundaries. We also have a item 6, 2026 precinct maintenance plan, and we're gonna have the auditors team that's here present that now, and we will double back once we're done with this item, back to item 3 to cover advisory boards, just since we have our auditors team and we want to respect their time. So we're on item 6, 2026 precincts maintenance plan.
I'll go. Do you mind to drink it?
So we sent you the information well in advance. We thought if you were bored on your break, you know, it'd be an interesting thing to look at. So this is our annual precinct maintenance due to annexations, and we also do an annual analysis on precinct size because state law requires that precincts be no larger than 1,500, and of course, we've had a lot of growth in Thurston County, so. And we also use this as an opportunity just to improve the precinct boundaries. So anyway, staff is going to present that information on the proposed changes, and happy to entertain any questions. So as you know, Lynn now is election supervisor officially, even though that's what she's been doing for years. So Laura is going to go ahead and step in and present this presentation. She's been doing this work for quite a while, even before she joined our office. So anyway, go ahead, take it away. Want to switch places?
So the overview is there will be no changes made to the 5 county commissioner districts boundaries that were approved in 2022. Thurston County currently has 294 voting precincts. Per RCW, no changes may be made starting 7 days prior to the first day of candidate filing, and no precinct changes may exceed 1,500 active registered voters. RCW, every voting precinct must be wholly within a single congressional district, single legislative district, a single district of a county legislative authority, and if applicable, a single city. Every voting precinct must be composed as nearly as practicable of contiguous and compact areas. Just some background information for precincts: school, fire, cemetery, park, intercity transit, and conservation district lines may split a whole precinct, thus creating precinct splits. These are usually indicated by 0.1 or 0.2 after the precinct number. City precincts are named according to their city with a whole number afterwards, and county precincts are named according to what is or was in their area. Throughout this presentation, all of the voter totals are approximate. It is a fluctuating number. There will be 2 annexations that impact the election precincts this year. One for the city of Tumwater and a large one for the city of Yelm. 12 precincts are approaching the 1,500 active voter and have precinct boundary adjustments on 2. And 1 precinct legal description update.
So nothing for District 1.
Do we have any questions so far? So the city of Tumwater annexation is just a small annexation near 93rd and Case Road. 2 parcels will be annexed into the city of Tumwater. The existing city of Tumwater limits is a legislative district boundary, so a new precinct will be reformed. The two parcels annexed into the city will create precinct Tumwater 34, and the rest of the precinct will remain Tilly. There is no active voters within the two parcels that are being annexed. Do we have any questions? The next one will be a precinct approaching 1,500 voters, Heartwood South, precinct 26. It currently has just over 1,075 voters. But there is anticipated building of apartments in this area, so we are going ahead and splitting the district. It will affect 708 voters. We're proposing to divide Heartwood South along section lines, creating Heartwood South reformed up in the west portion and creating a new oak tree from the southern portion. Questions? Any questions? Next, we have Evergreen Ballroom South, precinct 33. Again, this is reaching the 1,500 voters with new builds going into the area. We propose to divide Evergreen Ballroom along 15th Avenue Southeast, creating Evergreen Ballroom South reformed in the northwest portion and the new Union Mills from the southeastern portion. Any questions on that one? Moving forward, Deschutes, precinct 125. We're proposing to divide this along the Southeast Thurston Fire Authority sub-region boundary. Reforming precinct 125 as Deschutes West, and then creating the new Deschutes East from the east portion. Any questions on that one? McAllister Creek, again, is reaching 1,500 voters. We propose to divide McAllister Creek east and west along the section line, portion west to be renamed McAllister West, and create McAllister East from the east portion. Any questions on this one?
What is the reason for this?
It's reaching 1,500 voters. There's new houses being built in the area, so even though it's not currently close to 1,500, we are anticipating. Olympia 2, again, there's a lot of new builds being infilled into this area. Currently, it's at 1382. We propose to split this precinct along the section line, reforming Olympia 2 to the west and creating Olympia 62 from the eastern portion. Any questions on this one? Lacey 29 is also approaching 1,500 voters with anticipated growth and new builds in the area. We propose to divide Lacey 29 along 53rd and Parkside Drive southeast. The northwest portion will remain Lacey 29, and the southeast portion will create Lacey 61. Any questions on this one? Lacey number 40, again, it's getting close to 1,500 voters with anticipated growth in the area. We're proposed to divide Lacey 40 north and south along the section line, creating Lacey 62 from the northern portion and maintaining Lacey 40 from the southern portion. Any questions on this one? Oh, you forgot to advance the slide. Again, reaching the 1,500 voters limit, Lacey 43, sorry. And then this one, we are also doing a precinct boundary adjustment just to make the lines a little bit cleaner. So we propose to divide Lacey 43 along Willamette Drive, and then also the portion that is south of Willamette Drive, we're gonna split that along Hogham Road northeast. The area north of Willamette will remain Lacey 43. The area to the south and east will become Lacey 63. The area west of Hogham Road will be added to Lacey 42. Any questions on that one? Tumwater 10 is also reaching, is expected to go over 1,500. In this particular one, we are not creating a new precinct. We are adjusting the boundaries of 3 different precincts in the area. So Lacey 10 or Tumwater 10 will be divided along Trosper Road and Rural Road, and the area east of Rural Road will be added to Tumwater 13. At this time, we're also going to divide Tumwater 3 along Linwood and the I-5 center line, and also add that to Tumwater 13. This will balance out the number of active voters in each of those precincts. Any questions on that one? Precinct 411 currently only has 1,200 voters, but large apartment complexes are in process of being built and leased out. So we are going to go ahead and divide this precinct into 3 different precincts. We're going to divide along Little Rock Road, and the area to the west of Little Rock Road will maintain as Tumwater 11. East of Tumwater, we will split again between, or east of Little Rock Road will also be split at Israel Road. The area north of Israel Road will become Tumwater 35, and the area south of Israel Road will become 36. Any questions on this one? Oops. Tumwater 28, again, is reaching the 1,500 active voter limit. This precinct we propose to divide along Mariset Street Southwest and the section line, with the northern portion remaining as Tumwater 28 and the southern portion forming Tumwater 37. Any questions? Yelm 5 is also reaching the 1,500 voter limit. We propose to divide Yelm 5 east-west along Killian Street southeast, with Yelm 5 reforming from the western portion and Yelm 9 created from the eastern portion. Next, we're gonna go into the large annexation of Yelm. There are 8 zones that are being annexed into the city of Yelm. And it will affect several Yelm precincts and a few of the county precincts as it's being moved in. So we'll break this down by the different zones. One thing to note is on this map is the white dotted line is a congressional district line.
And the zones reflect the zones for annexing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the interlocal agreement between the county and city of Yelm.
So this is our proposed boundaries, noted by the black dotted lines, but we will go into each different area. So zones 1 and 2, we will be splitting along Killian Street extended. Zone 1 will be added, the portion of zone 1 west of the Killian Street extended will be added to Yelm 5, and the area east of Killian Street will be added to Yelm 9. The area of zone 2 will be added to Yelm 1. Any questions on that? This one's a little bit more complicated because we're adding zones and also creating a new precinct, splitting some of the precincts and just making cleaner precinct boundary lines. Zone 3 will be added to Yelm 7. The portion north of Railway Road Southeast will also be added to Yelm 7. The area of Yelm 7 south of Railway Road will become part of the new Yelm 10. The area of Zone 7 between Railway Road Southeast and 103rd Avenue Southwest will be added into the new Yelm 10. That's Zone 4 and 5. The area of Zone 5 that is south of 103rd Avenue Southwest will be added into Yelm 3. Yelm 3 will also be divided along 103rd and the northern portion added to the new Yelm 10. Do we have any questions on this one? Zones 6 and 7 are a little bit more complicated by the congressional boundary line. We will be dividing Zone 7 along Clark Road and adding the portion west of Clark Road to Yelm 2. That is west of Clark Road and north of the congressional boundary line to Yelm 2. The area east of the Clark Road will be added to Yelm 3, as well as the areas north of the congressional boundary line of Zone 6 will be added into Yelm 3. The portions south of the congressional boundary line will be added to Yelm 6, and you'll see that on the next slide. Yelm 6 will have the sections south of the congressional boundary line of Zone 6 and 7, as well as Zone 8 added to Yelm 6. Is there any questions on that? And then you'll see the final boundary lines there.
Yelm 6 being all divided is not a problem.
Because they can be as contiguous, compact and contiguous as practicable.
Practicable.
That's
Really
nice
word.
The George Road.
Looks so practicable.
Oh, but you're, and, okay, and that's trying to respect the congressional
Yeah.
boundary.
Yeah.
Is why.
And the city boundary, so we could change in the city boundary.
There's only a total of 93.
So the 2026 precinct count will move to 308 with the approximate voters affected around 9,161. Voting precincts added due to Tumwater City annexation, 1. City of Yelm annexation is 1, which is Yelm 10. Precincts approaching 1,500 voters, we have 12. Oak Tree, Union Mills, Deschutes East, McAllister East, Olympia 62, Lacey 61, Lacey 62, Lacey 63, Tumwater 35, 36, 37, and Yelm 9. We are changing precinct names of 2, Deschutes to Deschutes West, and McAllister Creek to McAllister West. Precinct boundary adjustments due to the city of Tumwater is 1, which is Tilly. City of Yelm annexations will have 11 boundary adjustments, and precincts approaching voters of 1,500 voters and precinct boundary adjustments is 15. Precinct legal descriptions added due to the city of Tumwater is 1. City of Yelm annexation is 1. Precincts approaching 1,500 will be 12 new voters, or precinct legals added. Precinct legal descriptions amended due to the city of Tumwater annexation will be 1. City of Yelm annexation will have 11. Precincts approaching 1,500 voters and precinct boundary adjustments will have 15. Legal description correction will have 1, which is Olympia 41. Commissioner legal descriptions amended will be Commissioner District 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Six precincts.
Do we have any questions?
Questions? So we're,
Good job. I mean, this is a
Is that
lot of
fun?
work. Yeah, it's a lot of work and it
It's a
was
lot
very
this year,
well
isn't it?
laid out and I appreciate that because it was very easy for me to read and for us to understand. We reviewed it yesterday and it is really nice. You know, the annexing is still happening out in Yelm, and so it'll be nice to be able to talk with people about how to be a PCO and things like that. So, great.
A lot of new precincts this time. Jeez.
yeah. So this connects to our item on the next week's calendar, which will be to set a public hearing for February 17th. That's on the timeline that they've got up here. So any other questions on any of that? All right, thank you, auditor team.
So we do want to ensure we finish this by, is this our deadline?
Preferable March, yeah.
Yeah, in March, because we cannot change precinct lines after, what date in April? It's 2 weeks.
But if we have an April election, then we can't necessarily change the precinct lines because chances are the jurisdiction will be included in the April. So we have to get it changed between the February and April elections.
Will decisions and final decisions on the Yelm annexing affect? I mean, if it was to be drawn out, it would affect the fact that the redrawn boundaries, right? Okay, just.
And when do we anticipate, or when do you anticipate that to be final?
I don't know. I mean, in the next month. I mean,
Okay.
I think it's, but I just know that we had an annexing meeting and there were 120 people there. So I believe that, you know, it might get bigger than we thought.
Is there opposition? I mean, what's your
Yeah,
best
absolutely.
decision? Do you think, I mean, are you confident they're gonna move forward, or, because for us, it's when do you move the people?
I think that,
It's in Yelm's hands, kind of.
I think that it is in Yelm's hands and so in Yelm City Council's hands. And I think that they will move forward. I just think there might be, I think there's one group that's really adamant, but well, I don't know.
That they don't
I just
want
don't
to
know.
become part of
And
Yelm.
tonight it's tonight, you know, so, yeah, you know, so
Okay,
I don't know what will happen.
yeah, if there's any way you could just kind of keep us in the know, that would be
Be happy to.
helpful.
I'll let you know.
You know, we always, of course, have a plan B because that's
And we're meeting.
we roll, but
Yeah, we meet with constituents and then, are involved in tracking all of it. So we'll let you know.
okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right.
All right, thank you. Double back to item 3, advisory board.
Chair, just to wrap up the agenda review, consent items 4 and 11.
4 and 11 are
The item 4 is setting a public hearing on the residential
Yes.
energy performance proposed ordinance.
yes,
Item 11 is the sheriff's office MOU state patrol.
yes.
I had a question about the agenda real quick. Item number 8 about the Veronis contract. The contract's not included as an attachment in the AIS. Is there any way we could get that added?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. For advisory boards, there are 4 to touch on today. These are being brought as informational and any can be brought back next week if you'd like. For the Agriculture Advisory Committee, 1 application was received from Justin Sting for the vacant non-farmer position. The committee recommends the appointment of Mr. Sting. He is a policy analyst for the Pacific Coast Shalish Growers Association. Are there any questions or thoughts on this one?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with moving forward.
Is he considered farmer or non-farmer
Non-farmer.
for the position 8?
That's a vacant position, so.
Yeah, that's fine.
Have we received any other applications for that position?
Not for the ag.
Okay. How long has that one been open?
That I don't know off the top of my head, I'd have to.
Okay, I know there was one person who, well, I guess there was one person who asked me about this board, but they are farmers, so maybe they wouldn't be eligible for position 8, but,
There's a seat sitting there for you.
Right here.
oh, this one,
Yeah.
We'll see
oh,
if
perfect,
they'll apply.
cool. Yeah, I'm okay with moving forward.
Thank you. For the Agritourism Advisory Committee, 3 applications have been received. 2 of those are for reappointments and 1 is for a new appointment. The 2 reappointments are for Jennifer Colvin and George Sharp. Both of those are recommended by the committee. The new appointment is for Jesse Hill, who's an outreach coordinator for the Olympia Farmers Market, and that appointment is also recommended by the committee. Questions or?
Commissioner Mejia's thumbs up.
I'm a thumbs up for all
Yeah, I
three.
know all those people.
Yep, I do too.
Thank you. One application was received from Lauren Loftus for the Historic Commission. She's an archivist and special collections librarian, and is recommended for appointment by the commission. As you know, these seats are sometimes hard to fill. Find applicants.
Thumbs are up.
Thumbs are up.
And then lastly, Commissioner Klaus nominates the reappointment of Colin Bartlett as the District 5 at-large representative.
Okay.
All of these will be added to the January 20th business meeting agenda.
Thank you. All right, still good. Let's go on to item 7. First commissioner item that's on the agenda is proposed ordinance artificial intelligence surveillance.
And I will just tell you guys, I have a brief commissioner item after this.
I do as well. We'll get to it. I'll start with this one.
Thank you.
Kick this off. Oh, so I appreciate Commissioner Mejia sending over a sample draft. We have, there are a couple items that were adjusted under 5.2 and 6.2 by Commissioner Mejia. Really, this item is to see if the board is interested in directing staff to continue to work on such an ordinance and then bring it back for board's consideration and approval.
Thank you, Leonard. Yeah, so I did write some of my thoughts down just because this issue is very complex, and wanted to kind of lay out for the board kind of what it is that I'm requesting. So attached, you will see the proposed ordinance that the clerk sent out for the review. And I really want to start by being very clear about what this item is and what it is not. And so this is not a proposal to expand surveillance. It is not a proposal to introduce new technologies to the county. And it is not an endorsement of any specific vendor or platform. In fact, it does the opposite. It establishes guardrails so that AI-enabled tools cannot quietly or incrementally expand without this board's knowledge and approval. It is about recognizing that technology has changed faster than our policies, and that tools capable of inference, prediction, and biometric analysis require a higher level of transparency and intentional governance than traditional equipment. As artificial intelligence becomes embedded in everyday systems, cameras, analytical platforms, automated decision tools, the real risk is not a single technology, in my belief, but normalization of the systems. This happens when systems become so routine that no one can clearly say who approved them, what data they collect, how long the data is kept, or who ultimately controls it. I will be cheesy, but George Orwell cautioned that the most effective systems of control are not always imposed overtly, but adopted gradually until people no longer notice the moment when oversight disappears. And I think that is the risk we are trying to prevent. So the proposal, which I call phase 1, and I'm introducing today, is a policy framework ordinance. It does not authorize any specific technology. It requires board approval before AI-enabled surveillance tools are required or used, sets clear prohibitions and ensures transparency and public reporting. It also explicitly limits technologies that raise the greatest public concern, including real-time biometric identification and predictive policing. The work is being brought forward with full respect for our independently elected officials. Nothing in this ordinance interferes with either lawful investigations or operational discretion. Instead, it protects the county, our departments and offices, but most importantly, it protects our residents and community members by making expectations clear up front before contracts are signed or data is collected. Now, with that said, I'm also previewing a Phase 2 ordinance, which is not before you today. But I do have a proposal drafted, but I'm waiting on some additional input. That phase will focus on data governance and digital privacy, including data minimization, retention limits, and critically preventing vendors from owning, monetizing, or repurposing county data. Phase 2 is where we explicitly address concerns about private companies controlling public surveillance data. So today my request is limited. I'm not asking for approval of this policy. I'm asking for board direction to have the county manager or his designee to work with information technology, prosecuting attorney, any stakeholder deemed appropriate so that this framework is practical, legally sound, and informed by operational realities. With all of that said, and thank you for giving me time to kind of frame that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Klaus.
So thank you, Commissioner Mejia, for bringing this forward. Interestingly enough, I was also working on an ordinance and have a draft as well. I'd love to like sit down and look through, collaborate with you and see what we can come up with, because I also have, and maybe what I have kind of mirrors your Phase 2. It sounds like potentially there's some alignment there. I do think that this is an important topic. It's something we should be talking about. And the framing that you just gave, you specifically stated that this is not pretty much an invitation to adopt any sort of like surveillance tools. That was the question that I have several groups of constituents and representatives from ACLU that I've talked with. I'm talking with Senator Trudeau this week because she's also introducing legislation around this at the state level. And at face value, the comments that I received from the public was that they were nervous when they saw this, that we were getting ready to adopt some sort of, or like acquire some sort of AI surveillance tool. So the way that you framed it is, I think that clarifies that issue. But that was kind of something that people came to me and they were like, this to me looks like we're inviting the adoption of new tools and without like any specific enforcement mechanisms in place. And so that was something that was raised to me when I spoke with some community groups over the weekend. And yeah, I just think that it's definitely something to talk about, but I don't know, like, as far as timeline with what's going on at the state level, there's legislation happening there. Hopefully it goes through. Hopefully it's something that the state will adopt. But it'd be interesting to see how the county level, whatever county level ordinance we adopt might align with what the state's doing. And so I definitely think the phased approach is appropriate. And I appreciate that it sounds like Phase 2 will talk a little bit more about enforcement and compliance, because that was one component that I saw that could be strengthened in the ordinance draft that's before us today, but there were a lot of good things in there. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing this forward. And as far as next steps, I do think that it's something that's worth having staff look into, but I'd be really interested in maybe sitting down with you, Commissioner Mejia, and comparing what we have come up with to see if the draft that we provide to staff for them to review could be maybe more comprehensive, or just take into consideration some of the points that I have in mind that I've worked with the public to draft. So that's kind of what I've got.
Thank you. Yeah, and just to kind of answer, one of the reasons why I didn't include Phase 2 is because of the proposal that Senator Trudeau is working on, and I've had conversations with her on it. And that's why I, based on what she's drafted, what WATAC has drafted, and what they have in their own policies, that's kind of where I have phase 2 drafted. I focused phase 1 only on our internal process and how these technologies go through our internal process. And the security piece, I felt it could have been combined with phase 1, but since there is legislation that is coming down the pipe, I felt it was better to separate it and see what comes down and work on our internal and our foundation process first, and how we review this new technology. And kind of like I framed it, it's more about making sure that our policies are up to date with what's coming through the pipeline.
Awesome.
Okay, so there's then the request from Commissioner Mejia is that we basically restate your request to direct staff to do what?
So this has not been reviewed by staff, so I would want the county manager, his designee, to work with IT, information technology, the prosecuting attorney's office, and any stakeholder that they deem appropriate as they're working on this policy, and then bring a proposal back to the board to discuss.
Second.
Motion second to direct staff, county manager to work with IT, prosecuting attorney, and any other stakeholders to bring more information back to the board on this proposal. Discussion?
Thank you, Commissioner Mejia, for working on this, and I like the phased approach. I think that's wise.
Yeah, I like the phased approach too. I think that as far as there are some components in here I'm just interested in kind of talking through a little bit before we give staff direction. I think that, for example, the section 5 talks about board approval and a surveillance impact report. And I was just curious that the surveillance impact report seems like it's pretty comprehensive. And so how would that look functionally? Do you have any thoughts, or is that something that you think maybe staff should talk about and bring back? Or did you have any thoughts on how that would work operationally?
I was gonna send some examples over to IT because I got, so part of the surveillance ordinance that I worked on with this, it was from the city of Seattle and kind of similar ones that they have done. And I looked at other places that had done one. And so that's kind of where I gathered the surveillance impact report was actually from the city of Seattle, and they have a process. And so I was able to get some of the forms that they use, and I was going to share that with information technology and see if it was something that we could do. But I wanted to, have the expert, which is Sherry and her team, and, have legal actually look through this first and see is this something that, can actually be done here? And, if we're using this framework, is it something that we can do, or do things need to change first?
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think having Sherry there is important. Potentially public defense, if we're talking to the prosecutor, then maybe they would have, because they are experts in a lot of things related to civil liberties, so it might be good to have them at the table. There are a couple things in here I think are important to note, like the county acquiring technologies, acquisition and use of such technologies is transparent, accountable, ethical, narrowly tailored, and consistent with constitutional statutory requirements. I think this is good. However, I think it puts a lot of responsibility on the board to be technical experts when things come forward, because it does give board authority to approve this technology use at our discretion. And there are a couple other clauses in here that are discretionary that I think it's what the term that I've been kind of using and hearing from the community is it seems like a voluntary compliance type of agreement. It seems like an ordinance that talks about the risk. In section 1.1, it does talk about the risks to privacy, civil liberties, and racial equity, democratic participation, and public trust. But then if there's operational discretion or voluntary compliance, then how are we actually ensuring that this ordinance is being followed in good faith and not just, we don't just see technologies coming forward and getting approved or being used because there's a clause in there that allows for that.
I think, that's why it's laid out that this process would come in front of the board, and that's where the board needs to ask questions on whether a process was followed or not. And this is just in addition to our already internal processes for systems. This is just adding to those internal processes that we have in terms of software acquisition.
So my understanding of this motion, I know there's something really specific before us, and I appreciate Commissioner Mejia giving us a heads up as to what this is even all about, because I don't know a lot about it, but my understanding of the motion as it's been framed is that it's really doesn't preclude any commissioner, including Commissioner Klaus, from like laying out all the things you want to see addressed and then having that work done by prosecuting attorneys, stakeholders, et cetera. So I don't see them as inconsistent with like approving the motion, but having all those things that you raise part of the analysis that comes back to the board.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be really good for me and Commissioner Mejia to talk through like our ideas, because yeah, I think that it would be great. I'm going to send mine to the prosecuting attorney, but I just don't want to work in silos and then be duplicating work and duplicating efforts if there are things that we could share with each other that strengthen any sort of ordinance that comes forward.
That makes sense. Any other discussion before we call a vote?
It's important that what we're voting on is the board's thing that it's sending on to staff and to the prosecutor. And outside of that is individual commissioners doing research, not necessarily a board position or board direction.
What do you mean?
You said that, well, I've got my own policy that I'm gonna be forwarding on to the prosecutor. That's different than when the board comes together and the board is making a decision on a specific thing. I know it's a little weird, and I still, the fact that our prosecutor is our attorney but isn't our attorney, and just in, kind of in more of in a city context, that would be something where, the mayor would be like, no, contact with the attorney and orchestration of the creation of this policy goes through this process and not just individual people doing their own thing, So I'm just saying we need to make sure we're in alignment and the prosecutor understands that what we pass collectively is the will of the board, and outside of that, it's research by an individual commissioner.
Yeah, I don't think that we're on I don't understand the point you're trying to make, but yeah, I think individual research, whatever you wanna call it, as long as staff come back with a comprehensive analysis of whatever they've received, and the board passes what we pass, that's what the process is, so I don't really understand your point, but I think I agree with it.
I'll call for the vote on the motion before us. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, other commissioner items. I have 11:30. I have to be done, so we have a few
I have
minutes.
11 o'clock.
Commissioner Grant, go ahead.
No, I gotta get out of here too. I just wanted to bring up, the second Wednesday schedule. Because I think last year, Ashley and I were going over just, the schedule and, for the next couple months. And, I think last year we made, kind of a motion, and I think I think it's halfway done, but, that on the second Wednesdays of the month, that's the day that I have Transportation Policy Board and Commissioner Klaus has ORCA in the morning. And they go back to back. And then oftentimes it appears that we sometimes have a chamber forum also on those days. And so I just wanted to, we had voted last year to move them back to 10 o'clock. Our board sessions, our work sessions to 10 a.m. or to have them be a little bit later so that they accommodate our responsibilities. And I'm just wondering, I think we had talked about placeholders for the afternoon, that maybe we could just move our work sessions on the second Wednesdays to afternoon. And so that it would not conflict with anything. And we would just only have the one board work session on those days and move to the afternoon. Anyone have thoughts on that? I mean, that's just a.
If that works, I'm fine with that, but Madam Clerk, can you remind us, did we?
Yes,
we
last
went over
year.
this?
Last year, the second week was eventually adjusted to 10 a.m. For the Transportation Policy Board.
But like tomorrow, isn't it tomorrow, second Wednesday?
9.
It is.
And it's at 9. So why is that
We had
not?
adjusted the schedule this year that was proposed to you in late November. That provided a lot more consistency in the schedule overall.
Yeah.
So we understand that.
The board discussed it when we brought it forward. There was comments about keeping it at 9, but it's the board's discretion if they want to change it.
Would it solve, I hear what you're saying, and I didn't realize that those both fell on the second, and I mean, would it solve everything to have the second Wednesday? I mean, we always have that afternoon session as a placeholder. Could that just be the standard session? Would that solve all these problems?
Yeah, I don't know that we need a morning session because we are often canceling.
We often cancel, we've been regularly canceling the afternoon session, and I'm happy to meet in the afternoon. You know, just as a history, that, you know, like, we used to have stuff all over the place and there was a million conflicts, and we boiled this down, and like, yeah, that Wednesday is like, to me, so for me being here before, it's like, this is a massive improvement. If the only thing affected is Orca or whatever, like, that's a humongous win, because it used to be 7 or 8 committees that constantly in conflict. But if we can get them all, you know, if we can get them all cleared, all the better. So, I mean, I'm okay with Wednesday afternoons on the second Wednesday being the work session time.
And I'm okay, sorry.
Go ahead,
I was
Commissioner
gonna say,
Fournier.
I don't care, I'm not gonna fight it, but I think, you know, just philosophically speaking, our primary function is to be here. And then, you know, we have to do our best to figure out if there's something really important going on at another meeting that's gonna take precedent over that. But I prefer consistency. I'm not asking for, you know, I have a meeting going on right now that I'm missing. But I'm not expecting anyone to accommodate that, because this is the first place I need to be.
Yeah, I routinely miss Shahila Mason's partnership for other obligations. I mean, it's unavoidable, and I do agree with Commissioner Fournier. This is always the priority, unless there's something, you know, every now and then there's something more important going on at the committee than in here. That does happen, but I'd say 4 times out of 5, this is a priority. But I do think that if a minor adjustment like what you say would clear those two, that would be fine with me. Because like I say, we already have that as a work session time on the books. We just happen to cancel it because we don't have quite enough things to worry about.
Keep it open for optional meetings. I mean, I don't know.
But then, you know, if we're really overburdened, that kind of flip-flop the priority, you know, like always have the 1:30, and then if there's an overload there, then we have to have them at 10 a.m. We have to have 10 a.m.
Sounds good.
I prefer the afternoon meeting to be optional.
That's what it already is.
No, but
That's what I'm saying.
I'm asking it to be flipped.
But that's what the
yeah.
conflict with Orca.
I think it'd be a good idea to just have
Just
that
that second week.
second Wednesday be an afternoon board work session. That would be helpful.
Yeah, if we could just do that, I just think that it just seems like we all have that open, and so it just seems reasonable. Tomorrow, I'm fine leaving tomorrow's. I mean, I'm not gonna argue with that, and, but I was just thinking for like next month and
I
month after
understand,
that.
it's a reasonable
Yeah.
thought, so
Do you believe the chamber typically ends, scheduled to end at 1:15 and the work session starts at 1:30?
so I'll have to,
Perhaps we-
Yeah.
I don't always go to, I mean, the chamber is not the highest priority in my world, so I go to this one because they ask me to speak at it every now and then. I go to one, candidate forum one's always interesting, but like if I have to leave 10 minutes before the tail end of a chamber, lunch, I don't think that's should be a low priority compared to all the rest of our obligations or issues that we deal with.
And for me, on Transportation Policy Board, I'm second chair, and,
And that meeting's from when to when?
It's from 8:30 to 10 every day, or every second Wednesday, so that's why I'm like, and I know that you're on quite a few things at Orca, so, anyway, if we're okay with that, let's do it.
All right, well, I saw 3 thumbs for that, Commissioner.
I'm okay with it.
Do that, Commissioner Fournier, you're maybe not loving it, but
whatever.
okay, so let's do that. Real quick,
My list of meetings.
I just wanted to give folks a heads up that I'm gonna be circulating, so in an effort to, kind of put a final exclamation point on all of our efforts with legacy forest preservation. The commissioner had his 77,000 acres, but then the maps were not quite right and they're working on fixing the maps. Meanwhile, a lot of planned sales in Thurston County were exempted from protection because there was some planning that went into it, things that we've been long advocating for. Been trying to work through a proposal that would kind of say, almost like a settlement, like, look, if we can pull these most important, biggest pieces out, we'll just stop, objecting to anything on a case by case basis. And so we put a proposal together like that. A big one, it's Chai. You've probably heard community kind of outrage about Chai because they pulled that forward from 2028. That wasn't even one. It's been on a previous list, but it wasn't one that we thought was coming this year, but they pulled it forward, I think, because a couple of others have been paused. Anyway, I'm just giving you guys a heads up that I'm putting the final touches on a proposal that I'd like to see the board consider. It would be powerful to have all 5 of us. Nothing in the proposal is any different than what we've already always been advocating for. It's actually a contraction of it. It's saying, it's a bit like a settlement. It's basically saying, like, if you would just take these most important pieces off and put it within the 77,000 acres of protection, which would have been automatic had they not sunk a lot of, had they not aggressively been trying to plan the legacy forest sales and Cal State Forest as fast as possible over the last few years, then we're done. And Thurston County will not object to any further sales, and you can go on. And it's trying to be very targeted and saying, it's taking Bears, which is right behind the McLean Nature Trail, and if you haven't heard community input on this, you will, because community is really worried about that one, and Chai. Those are the only 2 that we're saying, you put time into these, but these are too important. Everything else, go ahead and do it if you put time into it, but set aside these biggest pieces. If it's 80 acres and X number of meters wide, and when you see it, I think you'll understand it. It's an attempt to be reasonable, to compromise, and to lay this issue to bed for us. Because fighting on a cut by cut basis is it's been exhausting and not productive, and it's not where we want to keep going. So everybody needs certainty on this. So the next meeting of the BNR is on February 3rd. So I'll have this probably circulated, and maybe next week we can talk about it. And if everyone's in agreement, or a majority of us are in agreement, we can get it to them sooner rather than later, so that the Board of Natural Resources members have time to chew on it. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that it's coming and what it's about. And if you have questions about it, please contact me. All right, if that's it, we're at 11:21 and we're at the end of the agenda. We're adjourned.